One of the most difficult decisions to make as a stock trader is whether or not to buy a breakout, because sometimes a breakout out of a stock base will rocket up for 3 or 4 days, extending to 20% in no time, while other times it will squat and move sideways or reverse entirely and blast out the bottom of the pattern. So how do you know? Well, today I'm going to share with you 3 or 4 different variables that we need to take into account when deciding whether to buy breakouts. Hi, my name's Joe. I am a professional trader with 28 years of trading experience. I started in 1996, but this is not investment advice. This is just my own anecdotal observations. So let's jump right in. Oh, and by the way, pardon the mess behind me. I just moved and I still have boxes to go through in my office here. All right, the first variable, and probably the most important, is and also probably the most obvious, is market conditions. At the beginning of a rip-roaring bull market, virtually every breakout works. You jump on every breakout as soon as they happen, and they almost always end strong for the first day and extend over multiple days. In a later stage bull market and or more tepid trading environment, it's all things being considered about 50-50, right? Half of the breakouts work, half of the breakouts slide sideways and need more time or fail completely. And then conversely, in a really ugly bear market like we saw in 2022, almost all breakouts end up squatting and reversing by midday and essentially failing. And we don't want to be buying breakouts at all. In fact, in a really strong bear market, we want to be selling into breakouts, right? We want to buy at the bottom of the pattern and then sell into those breakouts. So that's the most obvious and most important ones, market conditions. Right now, July, I don't know, what is it? July 16th, 2024. We are in a relatively early, healthy bull market, and all things considered, most breakouts are working. Let's look at item number 2. This is one of the best ways that you can improve your odds of success when buying breakouts is to study the industry. Find yourself a list of stocks in that particular industry. Go over the list quickly, see what other stocks have broken out recently and what happened. Did they break out and extend, or did they reverse and pull back? There's your answer. If most of the stocks, let's say you're buying, looking at a breakout in an oil stock. If you pull up the other related oil stocks and see 3 or 4 that broke out and extended successfully, then odds are that the one you're looking at, the breakout is going to work as well. Now this works to a point, but it's a little bit of a catch-22. You want to be able to look at other breakouts in the industry just to determine whether your breakout is going to work. But conversely, you really want to be in those industry leaders, that is the first 1 or 2 or 3 that break out, because the ones that break out later in the ball game are usually well, I don't know if inferior is the word, but the JV stocks versus the varsity stocks. And then ultimately, you don't want to be buying those laggards that are breaking out several months after the leaders. Now, doing this, unfortunately, takes some time. You got to find a list of stocks in the industry, and you got to roll through them. But that's what this game is all about. If you want super performance, you got to do the work. By the way, if you haven't liked the video, I would really appreciate if you would consider doing so. Let's look at the third of 4. That is the time of day. This is something that I came upon fairly recently. Basically, stocks that break out later in the day, those breakouts are more likely to be legit. Because I think it's the institutions who are waiting patiently for the exact setup that they want, and then they hit the go button, the buy button, right? Conversely, when you see a breakout right at the start of the market, which for me is 7:30 a.m., sometimes that's the institutions pushing those stocks up, but other times it's just some retail cowboys moving the stock with just a handful of shares. So I'm not saying you shouldn't buy breakouts at the open, but I would definitely be more wary of breakouts at the open and consider only buying a piece of your position, a half, a third, a quarter, and then adding to it later in the day and or even the second day if it finishes strong. Conversely, if you see a stock breakout, a few hours into the market day, or best of all, near the end of the day, anecdotally, it seems like those hold up a lot better. And I think that's, again, the institutions waiting for the retail cowboys to be done jockeying the stock around. And then they go in and gobble up their shares and move the stock. Speaking of retail cowboys, the last thing to consider is the market cap of the stock. If it's a really thinly traded small cap, there is a very real chance that it's just a handful of mom and pop buyers running the stock up out of a breakout point, and then the value guys and professional traders sell into those breakouts. So we need to be more wary of small and mid cap breakouts. Although, again, it depends a lot on market conditions. Right now, small caps are really hot, and small cap breakouts, by and large, are working. But in general, definitely be more wary of small caps and, to a lesser extent, mid cap breakouts, especially early in the day. Conversely, when you see a mega cap like Amazon or NVIDIA that's been setting up for months and then breaks out, that's not your Uncle Larry breaking that stock out with 10 shares. That's the institutions. Some of these stocks that have a gigantic market cap and a float of millions of shares, it takes millions of shares to break that stock out. And those breakouts are less likely to roll over and die a few minutes later, because it's the institutions emptying their pockets into those stocks, not Joe Schmo, not Joe Q Public. So let's recap for 30 seconds. When should we buy breakouts? Really depends on general market conditions. How hot is the general market? What are other stocks in the industry doing when they break out? Number 2. Number 3, time of day. I am more trusting of breakouts that happen later in the day, especially near the end of the day, than I am at those market open breakouts and breakouts just a few minutes after the open. And then lastly, market cap of the stock. All things being equal, we can trust mega cap breakouts more than smaller cap breakouts. 2 other things I'd like to mention. 1, I have a Patreon service where I show my portfolio and focus list every weekend, and I share stock ideas and thoughts throughout the week. If you are interested in something like that, there's a 7-day free trial. There's a link in the description of this video. Then secondly, my partner is Seeking Alpha Premium and 𝗲𝗵𝐵_𝗶𝑥. That is a website of fundamental analysis where you can read articles and find fundamentals on these stocks that are breaking out. And that helps you decide, I always trust the chart, not the fundamentals. I never buy a stock just on fundamentals, but fundamentals really help me decide whether this is a stock I'm going to hold for a quick 15% gain or whether it's a stock I'm going to try to hold long term. And you can get that information at Seeking Alpha Premium, link in the description below. Are there any other variables that you can think of besides these 4? If you think of any, put them in the comments below, or if you have any other ideas, please share them. How do you like this picture? This is an AI generated. I just typed in stock market. It's kind of like an old hunting and fishing cabin with a big old stock market monitor table. Kind of crazy. The future is getting pretty crazy, isn't it? Or the present is getting pretty crazy. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I got to unpack those boxes. Thanks for watching the video. We'll see you in the next one.